If we get cut off during this session, again, just sign out. I'll sign out. We'll sign back in, and we'll pick up where we left off. We won't lose any time. We'll be here for the hour. So, summary writing. Here's our first lesson. We're going to learn a bit about it. What are we doing today? I'd like to read something with you, so we'll read something together. We're reading to understand it, and then we want to summarize it. A little story. So why would we write a summary? Well, a summary is used to briefly communicate important ideas of a report or story. So if you it saves time for your reader, what we call our reading audience. The ability to summarize is a valued skill in many jobs. If you're an engineer, I have a friend who's an engineer who needs these kind of writing tools, needs the ability to summarize. Scientists, doctors, lawyers, people who entertain us. Anybody who needs to communicate a larger amount of information more briefly, because maybe the person doesn't have time to read a whole thing. Imagine a lawyer, for instance, may not have time to read a whole report on something, so he has a secretary or a clerk, and they summarize it for him or her. So, many people. Okay. Welcome to Superman Super Summary. Does everybody know who Superman is? So, Superman's Super Summary. And this will be for practice. So I'm going to model this for you in the way I would write a summary. And then you could learn from my example and try one of your own. Everybody know who Superman is? Anybody need that explained? I think everybody knows who Superman is. Yes? What if you met someone who didn't? Yes? Then we'd have to explain it to them. Imagine you met someone who had no clue who Superman was. Let's pretend we meet that person and we're going to explain it to them. Someone comes up to us and says, who's Superman? Well, first of all, we need them to know that Superman isn't real. Okay, Superman is what we call a fiction or a fictional hero. So they should know that first of all. You know, we don't want to confuse them that way. What do you know about Superman? Start my summary work. You know, what did we say? I'm just going to try and write. Can you see this? Okay, he's got a costume, I want to say. And he's got a cape. And he's a hero. And he can't die. Cannot die. Cannot die. And so on. So we know some information. I like to record that information for myself. Already, some of the work of the summary is already done because I know a little bit about it. But if I'm trying to explain this to somebody who's a stranger, it becomes different. For a stranger who might not know anything about it, first of all, again, we have to tell them they're not real. Sometimes I'll go to an original source. It depends what we're looking for to summarize. If we're looking at a real event, something about, say, the Prime Minister Trudeau, then we want to go to the most recent, something written in 2021, you know. But for fiction like Superman, that started somewhere. So we go to what's called the source. So that's, what do we write? We need to write a summary about something. It's not just our ideas. And we can find more as soon as we go to an original source. So many people, I'm sure you may have seen movies about Superman or cartoons or read books, but somebody created it. So I want to go and I want to find out a little bit more so that I can really inform my reader. So I'm going to go to the original because I know a little bit about Superman. I know he was part of comics in the early years of the century. So 1938, I'm looking at an older document. Who wrote it? Jerome Siegel and Joe Shuster. Okay, these are the creators. So these are some things I want to know about, and I'll show you where I got that information in a minute. Comic books. Do you like comic books? Anybody like comic books? Yes? No?
Mostly.
I found this. Okay. The original reader, by using the information in this comic. So if you don't know a lot about comics, you read them a little bit differently than you would a paragraph in a novel or a textbook. They're still written in paragraph form. One thing comics do for the reader is they capitalize every letter. You notice that? We don't do that. I don't want you to do that in your writing. Okay, capitals are for the beginning of sentences and for proper nouns. So if I'm summarizing this work, I'm not going to write it the same way it is here. Anyways, we also have a visual. Okay, there's an old-time rocket ship, seems to be blasting off a planet there. And there you see my writers that I told you about, okay, that I already have information on. Jerome Siegel and Joe Shuster were the creators of Superman. So we'll go through, we have pictures to look at, but also descriptions sometimes. Sorry, oops. Why is it doing that to me? I got to get out of presentation mode for this, sorry. Put it there. Okay. And sometimes we have cartoon bubbles. This one doesn't have it, but we'll go through it. All right. So a scientist placed his infant son within the hastily devised spaceship, launching it towards the Earth. Picture of it. So this is Superman's planet that was getting old. It was being destroyed. Been around too long. So we're talking about the spaceship here. When the vehicle landed on Earth, a passing motorist discovering the sleeping baby within turned the child over to an orphanage. Okay, so this is when a child has no parents, they have to go somewhere. The state, the city takes care of them. Here's a picture of baby Superman, and he's lifting a chair there. And this is the description. Attendants unaware of the child's physical structure, was millions of years in advance of their own, were astounded at his feats of strength. Okay? So they're talking about his physical structure. Wherever Superman's from is a way older planet than we're from. And so it seems to have given him great strength. Oops. Oops. It won't let me do it. Okay. Here's what we do. Zoom it a bit. Sorry. I just want to zoom. You can give me a second here. All right. So there we are, the orphanage, and we'll scroll down. Okay, so what happens next? When maturity was reached, he discovered he could easily leap 1/8 of a mile, hurdle over a 20-story building. There he is. He could lift tremendous weights. And nothing less than a bursting shell, so something from a bomb or a bullet, could penetrate his skin. So we talked about this earlier, how he was immortal. Okay. His name is Clark. They give me that information there. Early Clark decided he must turn his titanic strength into channels that would benefit mankind. And so was created. And you see those dots there. They mean a pause, or for us to think, and then they introduce. Sorry?
Make suspense.
Yeah, that's right. It's like sometimes you hear a drum before it, and the killer was, or the hero is. Yeah, absolutely. Create suspense. Uh, but then suspense for what? Superman. Okay, and of course, they use the exclamation mark, champion of the oppressed. So that word there, oppressed, means sufferers, people who are bullied or picked on or having a hard time by powerful people. The physical marvel who had sworn to devote his existence to helping those in need. There again, that's the hero, right? So he wants to be a hero. Now we go, they have a little, so that's the story of Superman. And then at the bottom here, they give us a little, they're trying to give us a little scientific information about Superman. A scientific explanation of Clark Kent's amazing strength. Okay, Kent had come from a planet whose inhabitants, which means like us, we inhabit the Earth, they inhabit their planet, that their physical structure, the way they are built, like the way a human is built, it's very older and advanced. Okay, so when they get old, when they become adults, they get very strong. They get incredible superpowers. So here they're trying to explain it a little bit. You might say, well, that's incredible. How that can't be possible. So it's fiction. It isn't true that he can fly or there's a being named Superman, but they try to make it more realistic by including these facts. That even today, our own world exists creatures with super strength. So watch ants. Look at what that ant is lifting. You know, that's like us lifting a building. That's a very powerful ant, right? For something so small. Or how far a grasshopper can leap. If you think, if we were the size of a grasshopper, it would seem like that grasshopper was jumping over buildings. So they try to give you a little scientific explanation there. Okay.
That's why it's called the grasshopper.
Yes, absolutely. It's named for that. You're absolutely right. Absolutely. Let me just, what has happened here? Oh, I see. I just got it. Sorry. Let's go here and we have the Superman. Okay, so that's, maybe that's not the story of Superman you're used to it. Have you heard this story before? So there's some older ideas here, but this is what the creators intended. So there might be differences in some of the stories you've heard. So what we want to do now that I have this information is I want to set up a general outline for my work. So I want to take some notes somewhere, either with a pen and paper or on a Word document for myself. One way to write a short summary, a general summary, is to complete this sentence. So I've read through the origin of Superman, the story. I wanted to explain it to someone. One way is to go through the plot. So somebody, if I complete this sentence, somebody wanted something, but a reason, so then. Okay, so if we fill in these blanks to create a very general outline for a summary. So somebody, well, that somebody is Superman's father. Do you have a question? Okay, let me know if you do. I'm leaving a moment open for questions. No? Okay. Superman's father wanted to save his son. So that's the somebody for me. Okay. But his planet was dying. Okay. It's hard to save somebody if your whole planet is dying. So he sent the child to Earth. Then he became a hero. So I've filled out my blanks, and generally I'm describing Superman. And for someone who knew a little bit about it, it'd be okay. But if you don't know anything about Superman, you might need some more details. So I go back to my article and I look for some. This is another way, this is the way to get at some of your details. So that first sentence generally summarizes who Superman is. But if I use, and many of you may have seen this used for newspaper writing. Has anybody written a newspaper report? Ever done that? No? But you've read them. And so this is the way newspaper reporters get to their story. They use what's called the 5 W's and an H. Who, where, well, I've got who there twice. What, why, when, and how. Okay, so I might want to include a couple of people in that. Well, who wrote it? Here's my authors that I got from the comic, Jerome Siegel and Joe Shuster. Okay, where is this taking place? Well, it's a distant planet. And notice I got that from the comic. Okay, so those are the exact words, and that's called a quote. And so I put quotation marks around it. Again, his name is Clark. Okay, what happened? Well, he traveled on a rocket to Earth. Why? Because his planet was dying and his father wanted to save his son. When did this happen? Well, they don't really tell us when. We know the date when they created it, but we don't know when this is supposed to happen in the past for Superman.
I think it might be the future. Like, it hasn't happened yet.
That's possible. So maybe it's something to do with the future. They say that they're an evolved race, so maybe it has something. That's a good observation. Okay. If I wanted to use that in my summary, I want to find some evidence from the source as well. Because you remember, you're telling someone who might not know. So maybe they're not, so we're just going to give them the facts in the summary. But good observation. Okay, so we have a couple of ways to do this. We have our somebody wanted, then so sentence that we can use. And I've also used the 5 W's and the H. And now I'm going to put it all together. So I've made some notes. And here's my summary. The story of Superman by Jerome Siegel and Joe Shuster is the story of a hero. First, the story explains that some time ago, Superman, whose name is Clark, was born on another planet. His father, a scientist, sent Clark to Earth in a rocket because their planet was dying. Next, he was discovered and turned over to an orphanage. See my quotation marks. Why am I using those?
Because there are quotes from the...
I thought Superman's name was born on... I think Superman was born on the planet Krypton, and his real name was Kal-El.
Oh, okay. You know a lot more about it. Firstly, I'd like to answer the first question, which was the answer to my question. That's absolutely correct. Okay, so turned over the orphanage is a quotation. It comes from the comic. These are the exact words of the words in the comic. And notice the ones in the comic were capitalized. I changed that. The proper grammar for those words are not capital form. So yes, that's right. And you're right too. He's from the planet Krypton and his name is Kal-El. But if I want to tell that to my reader, then the source I use must have that information in it. So that's the only thing I'd say. I think it's great. And there's a way we're going to work on a later lesson in which we fill some of the information like that out. But for our purposes, we'll stick, if I'm to write a summary of my source, I have to stick with that information. So as Clark grows up, he discovers he has amazing powers such as super strength and speed. He decides to use his powers, again, my quote, to benefit mankind. Siegel's and Schuster's comic is about a champion who helps people who are helpless. Okay, so we have a couple. I want you to know a little bit about the structure, the topic. So our topic sentence, what our topic sentence does is it introduces our subject and the reason we're writing. Okay, so it's like the guide, it's the map to the rest of the paragraph. And then we have our details, and then we have a conclusion. And what we want to do with our conclusion is remind the reader why this is written. So we want to look to our topic sentence for that. So again, our topic sentence, the story Superman by Jerome Siegel and Joe Shuster, is the story of a hero. So sometimes we have to decide in a summary an idea, the biggest idea about this character. Well, the biggest idea about Superman, I think, for me, is a hero. So all the other details are going to kind of summarize how he came to be. So he decides to use his powers to benefit mankind. Once again, a quote, Siegel and Schuster's comic is about a champion who helps people who are helpless. Notice in my first sentence, my main idea is that it's Superman is a hero. I say the same thing in my last sentence, which might sound like I'm repeating myself, but I use different words. And it's so when the reader finishes, they know my main idea, and I remind them of it through the concluding sentence. So all paragraphs are made up of these three essential things. Topic, probably one sentence long. And then the next 3 or 4 sentences are details that show your topic is true. And then conclusion. The same thing happens with bigger pieces of writing when you get to talk about essays and discourses. Okay, you're still using the paragraph form. So it's very important that we get the single form modeled and that we are successful with it. Okay, so again, parts of a paragraph. The summary paragraph is organized this way. Topic sentence, which clearly states the subject and main idea of the paragraph. Details that explain why the main idea is true. Conclusion reminds the reader of the main idea. One way I used to tell students, I say it like this: tell the reader what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. So tell the reader what you're going to tell them. I'm going to tell you that Superman is a hero. Okay, now I'm going to tell you how. Now I'm going to tell you what I told you. Okay. Sounds repetitive, but it works and it makes your messages clear, and you will always use paragraphs. Here's some other tips for paragraph writing. Okay. Notice, we'll go back here. I'm going to get out of presentation mode here for a minute so that I can go back and forth. What do I want to tell you? Come on back. Here's my screen. Where'd you go? Sorry, just gonna bear with me. Here we go. Okay, so the paragraph begins with an indentation. Has everybody heard that word before?
Like 5 space, like you click the space bar 5 times.
You click the tab bar.
Yes, you can do either of those. Yes, it'll save you time if you just use your tab, and that'll bring it in. Or you indent, what we call indent 5 spaces. And this is really important because it signals the beginning of a paragraph. Maybe not in a single paragraph so much, but as soon as you start using more than one, it's, sorry?
Sorry.
Okay. It signals that it is a new idea for the reader. So it's very important that we use an indentation. That's, I want to just show you that. Go back. Again, we talk a lot about exact words. There are reasons for this, that we put them in, we must put them in quotation marks. We'll get more into that in the next lesson. But if you take, so you look, you're reading your bit, and you see you've used the exact words of the speaker, you need to put quotation marks around that, okay, that phrase. The paragraph is written in formal English. If you notice, there are no contractions. So try to stay away from those. Contractions are words that are actually two words. So this word, don't, you use do not for. So that is a combination of two words, don't, which means do not. But in what we call formal English writing, we don't use the contractions. So try and stay away from those. Notice that all the sentences in the details are related to the main idea. So if we go back to our formal paragraph.
I think the main idea is Seagulls and Chester's comic is about a hero, like a champion who helps people who are helpless.
Excellent, excellent. So we really need to stress that main idea. And you're absolutely right. That is what it's about. So everything that we say, if we say that it's about a hero, then all this needs to be explained. So why is he a hero? Well, partially because he's from another planet, partially because his father sent him to Earth in a rocket. He's super strong. Okay, and he wants to use his powers for to benefit mankind. So all those ideas are related to the main idea that we both talked about there in the topic sentence. So those have to be related. Okay, the beginning of each sentence and all proper nouns are capitalized. So unlike the comic book, not everything is. Proper nouns and the beginnings of sentence. Does everybody know what a proper noun is? Can you give me an example of a proper noun?
Something capitalized.
Yeah, what something can you, so what would be what would you capitalize in the middle of a sentence?
A name.
Like your own name or my name or the name of a building, person, place, or thing. That is proper, so specific. So I'm not going to capitalize building, but I would capitalize the CN Tower, for instance, because it has a proper noun. So those get capitalized, and so do the beginning of sentences. Everything else we use lowercase. Okay. Also, you might notice transition words. This helps the flow of the paragraph. So words here, let's see, whose name is Clark, his father. We have, so I state one idea, and then I use the word next. Okay, so next is a transition word. It takes me to the next idea. Okay, I use the word as. Okay, so different, you can use, or first, right? There's another one. First, second, also, in addition. These words are link words, and they help the transition words. So you can see the word transit in there. When you get on the subway, sometimes you make a transit from one stop to the next. You go from one place to the next. That's what these words show the reader. I'm moving from one idea to the next idea. First this happens, then this. So these are good to help your paragraph and to help the flow of your paragraph. How are we doing? Do you understand what a summary is? Is this fairly clear, ladies and gentlemen? We'll go back to our lesson. We've done parts of it. Okay. So what I want you to do today after class is to select your own origin story, something you like. It can be fiction. I'd rather it be fictional. So just to play with some of these ideas to start, and I think it might be fun for you. So an origin story, what you can do in Google or any search engine you're using really is type your choice with the word origin after it into the Google search bar. So say I wanted to look for Supergirl, I'd write Supergirl origin. And then you're going to come to a link where there's a lot of different information and, different articles, but go to one you understand and you like. But let's just use one source to start, and let's try to summarize the source you've read. So just as I read my comic book, you may come up with a small article, or even, a little film. All of that is good. So you could choose one. I've left a number of selections for you that I thought of: Supergirl, King Arthur, Hercules, the Lone Ranger, the Black Panther, Batman, Wonder Woman, Robin Hood, Sinbad. So, but if you can think of others and you'd like to use them, please do. That's all fine. And then what I'm going to get you to do in your homework, and you'll see this in the work, is do the same thing we did with this. So I'd ask you to come up with a general outline for this story. Somebody, who is that somebody? And what do they want? What happens then? So but always means something got in the way or something changed. And then something new happens. So, okay, so I'd like you to use that and then try answering the questions to get to a main idea. Who is this about? What is the event, or what happened to make it like this? When did it happen? Where are we in the world, or in outer space? And maybe you have a why and a how. You might not fill out every one of these. They might not be apparent to you, but most of them should be there. After you do that, so you've got this general point form idea, I want you to write a formal summary paragraph. So with the topic sentence, with details, with the conclusion, okay? And then I'm going to ask you to submit your homework to the Google Classroom for assessment. The work may be submitted as long as it's 3 hours before my next class. So say you don't have time today and you can get it done in the morning. If you can have the work submitted to the Google Classroom by 10, it'll give me time to put some comments on it. So I should explain a little bit about that. They won't be graded. What I'm trying to do is coach you here. So I'm going to give you comments about things that look good, things about your skill level, but also things we can improve, and some of the next steps we can take as we move along into this work. How are we doing? Okay, that's you will also find your assignment there too. So this is also just a copy of the assignment, but in here where it says due, that's the one you're going to hit, the summary writing assignment. We go right into the document. Again, okay, what I'd like you to do, please help me out here, because I need to know what your source is, what you're going to use. Maybe it's the Lone Ranger or Robin Hood or Wonder Woman. And here you'll see my Superman website. So I punch in the address here, or I cut and paste it or whatever. Give it to me so I know what your source is. Okay, so I know that what you're looking at, whether you're using your own words or quotation. So make sure you give me that first. Okay, to whatever. And again, it's up to you. I've included some choices there, but if you come up with one of your own, as long as you have a source, that's fine for me. Okay, again, write your answers when you read it over, and then underneath you can put your answers right into the document. So once I'm finished reading through it, I can go right in and I can start my own answers. Okay, right in here. Okay, so that's where you can put your answers and your paragraph and then you'll submit it. And if you notice, what you're going to see when you get it back is there'll be something highlighted, or areas highlighted, and then in here I'll give you a mark. You'll see, if they're highlighted, you'll see where I've made a comment about something good, something to work on, as a coach might do with athletes. Okay, how we doing? How's everybody? Summary, who's going to tell me what it is? So why do we use a summary?